Hello everyone and welcome on De Papier de Rêve channel. I'm Ursula and today I will be painting with you some Christmas cards. Like every year, I will propose to you 3 cards that you can make and that are quite easy to make. There will be 2 about Christmas winter with some pine trees, and 1 about a flower that we are using quite a lot in Christmas, a poinsettia. And of course, I have other videos that I made last years about Christmas card, and I will link them in the description below if you want more idea for your Christmas card this year. For my first card, I'm painting a white Christmas tree against a dark background, and for that I'm using fluid watercolor in the color Indigo in order to make the background, and I'm wetting quite a lot the paper in order to have a smooth gradient around the tree, and with a brush without water in it, or at least less water, I come back in the tree in order to pick up the color that is in the tree. And this one will need another layer, but for now I let it dry and I start another card. And this one is almost the opposite as the first one. I want to have pine trees, dark pine trees, against a white background. And first I'm applying just water all over the sheet of paper in order to have the wetness the same everywhere, and then I will infuse some colors into this water, and it will create some shapes, quite organic shapes naturally. And for the color for this one, I'm using Sodalite Genuine. It's a color from Daniel Smith that is coming from rocks. So it's a very granulating color, so it's even more interesting because it's creating so much texture onto the paper. First I'm painting some horizon line and then some trees on top of it, and they will create the background for the trees in the next layer. And once I'm happy with it, I will let it dry totally before adding some more color and some more trees onto it. And now it's time to start the third card, which is about poinsettia. It's the first time I'm painting poinsettia, and I have to say that I'm not liking poinsettia a lot. I think it's a weird flower, but it's a symbol of Christmas, so I'm going to paint it this year. And I want this painting to be very loose, so I'm starting by adding some red color onto my paper, and I will add some greens also, but I want that every color will merge with the other color I'm adding on the paper. I do not want some details right now. I just want to have rich colors on my paper at first. Once again, I'm working with a very wet paper, so everything is merging together, and that's just what I want for this one. I know that I'm working with red, so I will have to work it a little bit more in another layer, because red is quite hard for me to paint with. It usually dry a lot lighter than I want to, but it's okay. It will be okay with another layer on top of it. And again, I will let this one dry, and I will start the second layer on the white Christmas tree. It's always fun to work 3 paintings at the same time, because you do not have to wait too much before continuing to paint. There is always 2 drying and 1 you are working on it, so it's quite interesting. As you can see on this one, the layer has dried really lighter, and I want to have some darker color back into the background. So I'm starting by painting a little bit more details of the tree at the bottom, and I will make the dark color go at the top make gradient with it in order to found the tree again in the top of my painting. Maybe I could have gone a bit darker at the first layer in order to not have to redo this layer again, but I quite like the way I've worked the bottom of the tree right now. It's quite nice, and it gives a lot of texture. So I think it was quite a good idea to make this background in 2 steps. And now I can go back on the second card and paint the pine tree on top of it. And for that I'm still using the Sodalite Genuine, and I'm drawing first a trunk, so a vertical line, and then a scribble in order to make the pine tree a little bit smaller at the top and bolder at the bottom, and that's it. You do not have to know how to draw for this one. It's quite an easy one. And I try to make them all different so that they are a little bit more natural. And I'll let this one dry, and I will talk you through my supplies. For the brushes, I'm using a Raphaël Petit Gris 903 number 12 and a Rosemary Co Éclipse round number 4. For the colors, I'm using Indanthrene blue, Nickel Azure yellow, Winsor red, some opaque white, indigo in aqua drop, Sodalite genuine, and at the end some iridescent copper. And my paper today is from Canson Héritage in hot pressed. And now it's time to add some details on the poinsettia card. And for that I'm trying to get the shape of the heart of the flower right. If you look at it, it makes some sort of a star in the center of the flower. So that's what I want to recreate here. And with this dark color, I'm not waiting too much before adding the red back in it, because I want soft edges between the dark color and the red in order to have a softer picture at the end. And once I've painted the red leaves, I'm not waiting either to add some foliage around them, just because again I want soft edges between the red of the flower and the green of the foliage. I want a picture that is really soft and a little bit dreamy. And for the color in this painting, I'm using the same, no matter the layers. The red is Winsor red. The dark color at the center is a mix of Indanthrene blue and Winsor red. And the green is a mix of Indanthrene and Nickel Azure yellow. I just want to be very thoughtful with my color in order to have something quite unified with it. And now I add the last layer of color on the white Christmas tree, and for that I'm just using white gouache on top of my background in order to have this Christmas tree appears. I'm trying to stay quite loose in my brush marks on the tree, just because I want some texture into it, but not too much details. And the white gouache will dry a little bit like the indigo color underneath in some area, and it will add some depth and texture into the tree. And now for the last details on my 2 pine tree cards, I will add some projection of iridescent copper onto it in order to make them a little bit more festive and give them a little bit of oomph to it. So I'm doing this for this pine tree, and also for the Christmas tree. I'm adding some iridescent copper. I'm making a star at the top of the tree and some projection in iridescent copper. And also I will add some projection with white gouache too, in order to give it a little bit more winter feel into it. And now they have just to dry peacefully, and they are ready. And now I'm adding the last detail on the poinsettia card, and for that I'm adding some texture into the leaves, the red leaves. I'm just adding some water here with a firm brush. I'm just scratching a little bit the paper in order to make the water penetrate the color and reactivate the color into it. And then I come back with a piece of paper in order to absorb this water and this color. And the texture appears quite magically. And now I just have to add some foliage into the painting by painting them in negative painting. I'm painting around the leaves and I'm make it softer in some area so that the paintings still appear a little bit dreamy. And I'm adding some more details into the leaves and into the flower, and that's it. And here you have my 3 little Christmas cards for this year. They were quite fun to paint, and like I said in the beginning, if you want more idea for your Christmas card, I will link the other year Christmas card into the description box just below. And this video is now ending. Thanks for watching, and I hope you like it. Please check the blog post for more information about it and tell me what you think in the comments. See you soon.